Hello and welcome to Local Anesthetic Podcast, your regular injection of mind-numbing local news. This is episode 348 now. We're recording on the 7th of November. Feels like it's already winter, even though technically it is meant to be autumn. I don't really know what's going on. Hello, Rob. How you doing there? Good to see you.
And you, mate, yeah, I'm not too bad. I've been to view a nursery this morning, which is quite painful on a Sunday morning at 10:30. But it was very nice. We've obviously we were given a tour of the nursery, which seems it looks like a nursery to me. I don't really know what I'm supposed to be looking at. And they gave us a rundown of the fees. I realise I can never afford to eat again.
Now, I know nurseries, Rob, are quite expensive, but are there any alternatives you could explore? Could you not sort of just knock on people's doors in the area and say, would you look after her, like 50 quid a day, 3 days a week, whatever it is, find somebody suitable that way? Is that not an option?
It would be, yeah. It really depends on whether I value my child's safety.
Yeah, but you would do a vetting process. I tell you what, Rob, if you value your child's safety, I don't know how much doggy daycare costs if it's less than a nursery, but would you mind her being around dogs, for example? She might learn a few skills that she might not otherwise learn by being around humans.
Right. I'm not really sure that I want my child to be learning or at least developing behaviour traits or skills of a dog. And also, going back to this vetting process, are you just suggesting I knock on the door, ask people if they have any experience child caring or child minding, followed by, are you a paedophile? That kind of thing.
Yeah, and do you have a criminal record? If they say no, Bob's your uncle.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Rob, do you have any news before we kick on with another cracking episode of LAPodcast? I've got one thing to mention, but do you have anything to mention?
Well, you kick off.
Okay, I've been enjoying for many years the fabulous series that is on, I believe, Sky Atlantic over here. I think it's an HBO program in America, Succession. And I'm sure some of our listeners will watch Succession. It's absolutely brilliant. It's just got one of the best scripts of all time, I think. It's just fantastic. But I did wonder when I was watching a recent episode, Rob, of the new series, whether Jesse Armstrong, the creator of Succession, who was also the creator of Peep Show, of course, and his team of writers, or even the actors themselves, are maybe local anesthetic fans, because I did spot kind of a reference to one of the things we often riff on. So I'm just going to play that now.
Right.
Amazon is 20 years old. Gates is an old geezer. Detoxify our brand, and we can go supersonic.
Yeah, there's just something about betraying our father that just doesn't sit well with me.
He's a central player in a rotten cabal that has basically eaten the heart out of American democracy.
Rotten Cabal is a good name for a band.
He's not going to be on trial for that, though, Ken.
Well, maybe he should be.
Right, do you see what I mean, Rob? Come on. Good name for a band. We coined that a long time ago.
We did. There are so many examples as well. Let's be honest. If that is the case, if they are listening right now, come on, at least shell out for the Patreon episodes. You can really afford it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Right, Rob, you got some news?
Well, there's only one thing I wanted to mention, Alex. I'm not sure if you're aware of it, but today marks a landmark occasion. I wanted to see if you knew what today was the anniversary of.
It's the 7th of November. Is it the anniversary of when they sort of swept up whatever that collected together and disposed of the remains of whatever they'd done to Guy Fawkes 2 days prior?
No, it's a good guess though. It's a political event. Which will go down in history.
It's not to do with the Capitol. The attack on the
storming of the Capitol.
Yeah, the storming of the Capitol. It's not that, is it?
No, that was in January, but it is connected, I would say. So today marks the anniversary of the press conference in front of the Four Seasons Total Landscaping.
In America, the Rudolph Giuliani did, which was nestled in between a sex shop and a something else. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, it was like the laundrette or something like this. They
thought they booked the Four Seasons hotel, but they hadn't. They booked this shitty gardening centre.
Yeah, I want to petition Parliament to make this. And I know obviously it was an American event. I appreciate that, but I really feel that this should be a national holiday.
So do I. But what I love about that is not even Armando Iannucci, with all his talent, could have come up with that as a script idea. No. Thank you for reminding me of that anniversary. Well, Rob, actually, you lead me. Don't want you to say anything else because you lead me very nicely on to my first story, which I do feel we need to. Look, Rob, you and I are responsible people, and we care deeply about the environment. So no doubt, Rob, your eyes have been glued to what is it, COP26? Is it?
Yes, COP26, that's right.
I didn't know there'd been 25 of them beforehand, but I just wanted to talk about Biden, President Joe Biden. And this is from news.stv.tv. And this particular story covers Glasgow and West region. It's by Gianni Marini, which is a quintessentially Scottish name, Rob.
Really is, yeah. It goes back decades.
It does.
Because of the clan. The clan.
But I think it's a leftover of when when Italy invaded Scotland. I can't quite remember when that was back in history, but do you remember they invaded it? They really colonized it to some degree, and there are still Italians in Scotland to this day.
That's right. I mean, people didn't realise. I think people often tend to forget the Bolognese invasion, but it was a significant event in Scottish history. I do think it's been repressed a lot because you won't find it in many textbooks, Rob, or historical documents, or anywhere really. But Alex, it's real. It's a lot. It's a lot like creationism. People just aren't willing to accept that it's a thing.
Exactly. So look, this is a headline. It's a great headline. Large naked Scottish man snaps pic of US President Joe Biden.
It's a great headline.
It really is.
Okay.
US President.
Was it Trump by any chance?
I wondered that. Yeah, it really does sting me. It really gets in my craw, Rob, sticks in my craw that Trump has Scottish heritage because, as do I, have quite a significant amount of Scottish heritage. So it upsets me deeply.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine that in his confused state, maybe he was staying at his many golfing resorts in Scotland, and maybe thought that he'd been invited but had lost the invite, so he just staggered out of his hotel, tried to gain entry to COP26, forgot to put any clothes on. I mean, Alex, weirder things have happened.
Well, US President Joe Biden was photographed by a large naked Scottish man, in quotes, as he travelled to Glasgow, the White House has said. The White House travel pool report from the journey during the president's visit to Scotland for COP26 revealed the welcoming experience as they travelled along a country road. The Scot was standing in the window of his home at the time. It read, "At one point, when we were still on smaller country roads, a large naked Scottish man stood in his front window taking a picture of the motorcade with his phone." That's it.
Wow, okay.
The story. No. To be fair, it just says Biden is staying at Dalmahoy Hotel near Edinburgh. The exact location of the incident is unknown. So, pervert, really. Not Biden, the Scottish man.
I mean, that again, what a non-story that is.
Yeah, tell me about it. Okay, let's just talk about, just quickly, because, I actually don't think we have once mentioned, Rob. I'd be pretty sure of it. Any of our regular loyal listeners who sort of hang on every word that Rob and I say can correct me. Have we ever mentioned on this podcast the Jeffrey Epstein case? I don't think we have.
Oh, God, Alex. No. Why would we?
I'm only going there, Rob. I'm only going there because, sorry, sometimes when you get a thought that's completely unrepeatable, especially on a podcast.
Do you know what? I think that, ironically, I also had a very similar thought and just thought, I cannot say that out loud on the podcast.
So, Rob, this is from The Guardian. It's from the 4th of November by Victoria Bikimpis in New York. Ghislaine Maxwell's jail conditions rival Hannibal Lecter's, lawyers say. Now, I love that.
No, it doesn't. I'm sorry. No, they don't.
Let's talk about...
That's just not true.
Let's talk about Silence of the Lambs. That infamous scene... I love that movie, but that infamous scene where Jodie Foster is walking... She's taken down, isn't she, into that sort of crypt basement prison, and she's walking down that corridor, and on the left-hand side there are these rows of, some of the most serious, hardened sort of psychopaths. Yeah,
Alex, I need to stop you. I've never seen it.
Is that true?
I don't know why you think I'll be lying to you, but no, I have never seen it.
Have you never? I'm assuming you've never seen Ridley Scott's follow-up, which was a long time later, Hannibal.
No.
I would really recommend you watching Silence of the Lambs, Rob. You would massively enjoy it. It's one of the greatest thrillers of all time and highly influential. I mean, the amount of times I see homages to it, it's ridiculous. But it also, Anthony Hopkins is astonishing in it.
Well, I mean, I know we are. I mean, Alex says that there's a lot of films that I know that shock you that I haven't seen. Top Gun, Alien,
What?
Aliens.
What? Right.
Yeah,
Rob,
we can add Silence of the Lambs to that list.
Say to Sarah, look, Sarah, you're looking a bit peaky recently. I think you could do with some time, off. Could you take the kid up to your mum's for a week? And during that week, Rob, you watch Aliens, Top Gun, Silence of the Lambs, etc. Succession, which you still haven't got around to properly watching.
Well, ironically, coincidentally even, Sarah is actually going up to her mum's this week and taking Lyle with her. She's going up on Wednesday night, so I've got a few days to myself. So maybe I can squeeze one of those films in.
In between whatever other activities you are getting up to, if you could do that would be good. Right, anyway, let's talk about...
Sorry, but will you accuse me of masturbating?
Rob, what I don't understand, right, is how we can do this story. It works on the basis of my co-host having seen a major cultural reference point in Silence of the Lambs. You just said, when she said the jail conditions, rather, you said, no, they don't. How do you know if you've never seen the film?
Because, Alex, as you rightly say...
I rest my case, Your Honour.
Because it's one of those things that just seeps into the public consciousness. I know, I know lines from it. I know scenes from it. I've just never.
Well, let me continue my description from earlier. She walks down this sort of corridor, if you can call it a corridor, because it's just brick. I mean, it is very, very cold and stark. And on the left are all these sort of psychopaths, really, who sort of mutter various things to her, which I don't want to ruin for you, Rob. But when she gets to the very end, there's Hannibal Lecter in his cell. I mean, it's just a sort of small brick. I mean, I don't know if you can call it a cell. It's not even... God, it was horrendous. But anyway, the point is, Rob, the British socialite Ghislaine Maxwell is subjected to such invasive surveillance in jail that, in quotes, it rivals scenes of Dr. Hannibal Lecter's incarceration from Silence of the Lambs. Her lawyer has argued, making yet another request for bail pending her trial. Maxwell is charged in Manhattan federal court for allegedly procuring teenage girls for the disgraced wealthy financier Jeffrey Epstein, as you know. But the lawyer said, Rob, Maxwell's conditions of detention for the past 16 months continue to be reprehensible and utterly inappropriate for a woman on the cusp of turning 60 with no criminal record or history of violence. Can I just say, a woman on the cusp of turning 60 with no criminal record of history of violence is a nice episode title, Rob. It is unwarranted, unrelenting, and utterly inappropriate, her lead attorney, Bobby C. Sternheim, wrote in court papers. She has been subjected to physical and emotional abuse by the correction officers, poor and unsanitary living conditions, insufficient nutrition, difficulties reviewing the millions of legal discovery documents in the case against her, and sleep deprivation. Now, that is also a good episode title, although rather long. The lawyer... Can I just say, imagine, Rob, talking about earlier, imagine you're a band, right? And your first few albums are called, first album, debut, Poor and Unsanitary Living Conditions. Follow-up album, Insufficient Nutrition. Yeah? And your third album, Sleep Deprivation. I think that makes a nice trilogy of albums with a consistent theme running through it.
I agree. I mean, I imagine this is a metal band that would have written these albums.
No, I was thinking it'd be a nice, quaint folk band, Rob. Right, listen.
What, like S Club 7? Sorry, can I just say I wasn't saying that S Club 7 are a nice, quaint folk band. By the way,
well, you just did, Rob. And in that moment, you showed your utter ignorance. Listen, Their lawyer also complained about flashlight checks every 15 minutes at night that were preventing Maxwell from sleeping, hostility from guards, and being tracked by surveillance cameras as she walked through the facility. I do think this whole thing about, these flashlight checks they do on high-risk inmates, it's just repulsive. To stop somebody from sleeping is one of the worst things you could do to them. And if anything, if they have any hope of rehabilitation or ever getting out of prison, remember, this woman is awaiting a trial. She's not charged with anything yet. I mean, that's not right.
I agree with that, because I think, by doing this, you could actually make her unfit for trial, because, we know that sleep deprivation can have a real adverse effect. And by the way, I am not saying this woman, is innocent or trying to allude to that in any way.
You're not saying she's guilty either, though, Rob, because, we don't want to do that either. Yeah, Rob agrees.
Let's move on.
No, but the point is, innocent until proven guilty, Rob, is I always say this to everybody. I don't care what somebody's been charged with or how guilty I might personally think they are. Sternheim has previously invoked The Silence of the Lambs, in which Anthony Hopkins plays an imprisoned serial killer. Sorry to ruin it for you, Rob. To describe Maxwell's jail conditions. In April, Sternheim said in written arguments to a federal appeals court, though she is a model prisoner who poses no danger to society and has done literally nothing to prompt special treatment, she is kept in isolation, conditions fitting for Hannibal Lecter, but not a 59-year-old woman who poses no threat for anybody. Asked for comment, the US Bureau of Prisons said in an email, I like the fact you can email the US Bureau of Prisons.
We should do that, just for a laugh.
Yeah. Well, they just said, for privacy, safety and security reasons, we decline to comment about the conditions of confinement for any particular inmate. Blah-de-blah-de-blah. Right, Rob, let's move on to something happier, unless you want to say something.
Alex, just before you do that, I do need to ask, 2 questions. How many lambs are there? And just how quiet are they? I mean, would they be suitable for Lyra?
Trying to remember the film now. As I remember, there were 3 lambs, and their names were poor and unsanitary living conditions, insufficient nutrition, and sleep deprivation. No, but it was it's a children's film at heart, really, Rob. It's a bit like Watership Down, that kind of thing. Right, listen.
Right.
Now, Rob, we're going to do a classic local anaesthetic story. I've just got to cover this. Let's have something that's really going to cheer us up, Rob. This is from the Oregon Live.
Okay.
Which covers news from Oregon in the United States. This story is from their public safety department by Alexander Scores. This is brilliant, Rob. Headline: Erratic driver shoots at motorist, eludes police, crashes stolen truck into garage, steals Ricky Bobby racing suit, authorities say. Now, there's a lot to unpack there, Rob.
There's a lot to process. So he shoots at a fellow motorist, evades capture, then steals a racing suit?
The wild night that unfolded this week in Clackamas County might have proven too much, even for actor and writer Will Ferrell's well-honed script chops. A 25-year-old man stands accused of driving a stolen truck erratically, firing at a fellow motorist who then fired back with a rifle. You gotta love the United States, Rob. You just shoot at somebody randomly, they might have a fucking rifle in the back of their car. And that guy shot back, Rob. What the fuck? With a rifle.
Alex, self-defense. It's self-defense.
Yeah. Leading police.
We've all been there.
Right. So it led police on a chase, which led to him crashing into a garage, running into the woods, breaking into a Beaver Lake home, only to emerge wearing a racing car costume of Will Ferrell's character from Talladega Nights, The Ballad of Ricky Bobby.
I'm glad you said who that was, because I had no idea. I just assumed that was some random NASCAR racer that I had that I wasn't aware of. But at least I know it's a character in the film. Why did this person have that? I mean, obviously the story isn't going to say that. It's just a homeowner owned it, but bizarre.
It all began, Rob, at 6 p.m. Tuesday when officers responded to a call from a witness who reported that a black GMC pickup was running through stop signs on Bernards Road, according to the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office. Can I just say, I really love the name Clackamas County. It's got a lovely ring to it, Clackamas County.
There is some really bizarre places in the US, isn't there?
Well, yeah, I mean, you say that, Rob. Have you seen some of our place names?
Yes, Alex, and the greatest in the world, if you ask me.
Do you know one of my favourites, Rob, which I always see on the map when I go down to my parents, is Chandler's Ford. Absolutely
very
beautiful.
nice.
Yeah, Chandler's Ford. Yeah.
I always like Clitheroe.
Yeah, well, okay. When the witness called 911 and tried to get the license plate number of the pickup, the truck's driver stopped, reached out the window and fired several times from a handgun. The witness grabbed a rifle from his own truck and fired back, but nobody was hurt. The suspect then fled the scene and headed north on Oregon 213 in the truck, later found to be stolen from Salem. Fittingly, I think, Rob, because this is somebody possessed. Officers tried to stop the truck using spike strips, apparently lost the truck, but soon found it crashed into a detached garage at a residence in the 16,000 block of Southeast Henrique Road. A witness reported seeing a man jump out the truck, hop a fence, and run, Rob, into the wooded area, the sheriff's office said. Authorities found a woman who had been a passenger in the truck near the crash scene, interviewed her, and later released her. So this guy just left his female passenger, Rob, for dead in the truck. Just abandoned her.
Yep, fair. I mean, Alex, if you're running for your life, you just have to, just basically cut and run.
The suspect broke, Rob, into a nearby home in the woods, according to the sheriff's office. The residents were away, but the homeowner contacted police when the alarm system went off and offered updates on the suspect's movements via the home security system. While inside, the man found the Talladega Nights costume, changed into it, and came out of the house with a bicycle. When he saw SWAT officers waiting for him, he hit the ground and was arrested without incident. Rob, let's just be real here. This story is extraordinary. He's on the run through the woods, right? Probably being chased by dogs. He breaks in to a home. Why does he put on the racing driver outfit? Why, Rob?
See, Alex, I can understand why he did this because, I imagine that the police who were trying to track him down had given a description of his appearance. So, most people would cut their hair or, try to I don't know, disguise their face. In this case, he saw, an opportunity and he went with it.
Investigators found, Rob, a suitcase full of jewellery and other valuables they said believed the man had intended to steal. Authorities arrested Alexis Ibarra Gomez about 9 p.m. The case drew Sheriff's Office Patrol Units, Oregon City Police, State Troopers, Washington County Air Unit, and members of the Clackamas County SWAT team and crisis negotiation teams. Ibarra is being held at Clackamas County on a bail, Rob, of $345,000. Should we put a GoFundMe and just get him released?
No. That sounds like a terrible idea.
He faces allegations. Yeah, but he'd owe us for life, Rob. He faces allegations including...
He could join the Patreon.
Yeah, he could join the Patreon. He faces allegations including attempted assault, attempting to elude police, and burglary. Just to be clear, not buggery, burglary. Right, Rob. It's time for this. Local Anesthetic Podcast is now on Patreon, so sign up now to receive exclusive LA Podcast and extra jab bonus episodes to your inbox every month. These can't be found anywhere else, and if you want to hear them, go to patreon.com/LA Podcast Extra. That's patreon.com/LA Podcast Extra. It's more of that local anesthetic goodness you know and love. More stories about stupid people doing stupid things.
Man buried as hole he dug collapsed on Fistraw Beach in Newquay.
He's alive, right? Please tell me he's alive.
Oh.
More stupid people doing more stupid things. Tiddlywink stuck up Christchurch woman's nose for 37 years. Have you never stuck anything up your nose before, Rob?
Well, sure, marbles, I think. Marbles, but everyone stuck a marble at their nose.
Of course you had marbles. Marbles were the perfect toy for you as a child, Rob, because they're strong and they're resilient and they're cheap. Even more stupid people doing even more stupid things.
RSPCA launched investigation after mutilated sheep stuffed into Salvation Army charity bin.
Oh, God.
Officers from the RSPCA were alerted to what they first believed to be the body of a dog. They took the body back to the lab, and then 3 weeks later they found it was a sheep and not a dog.
For a time, Rob, they thought it was a sheepdog, but the confusion was cleared up, and it is, in fact, a sheep, not a dog, not a sheepdog.
Exactly.
And, of course, the strangest news stories you've ever heard, like Special Ops forces in the United States being attacked by a ninja. it's unclear, Rob, from the records whether the man was an actual practitioner of ninjutsu.
Maybe it was Liam Neeson.
Okay, Rob, you got a story for us there.
Now, Alex, in the early days of the podcast, you used to make reference to two different eating establishments that I used to frequent, or at least according to you, I used to frequent.
Can I remember them? Harvester?
On a regular basis. Yeah, Harvester was one.
Wetherspoons.
And the Wetherspoons was the second. Well, the story in this case relates to the latter.
Right.
So
I didn't make it up. You have frequented those places in the past many times.
No, Alex, I haven't been to a Harvester in what must be 5 or 6 years. I've moved up in the world,
but if there was one, you'd go there. Do you know what? I would go as well. So it's fine, Rob. I don't think I've ever really been to a Harvester. It sounds lovely. I don't know if it is.
I mean, we all. I mean, lovely is probably pushing it. The reason we went to the Harvester is literally where we used to live in Crystal Palace. There used to be a Harvester about quarter of an hour walk away. So that's why we used to go there.
Rob, have you ever? When's the last time, Rob, you ate in a Wimpy?
Why did you ask this question? Well, I mean, I just need to clarify a few things. When you say in a Wimpy, if we got takeout, does that still count?
You got takeout from a Wimpy.
So during lockdown, okay, as everyone did, a lot of places started doing takeaway. And, to try and lighten the difficulties of the lockdown period, we tried to mix it up by getting different takeaways on a Friday or Saturday night. And we realised that our local Wimpy in Loughton, which by the way is award winning, it is the best Wimpy in the UK. They started doing takeaway.
Best Wimpy in the UK is like saying best bin in the UK.
Alex, I feel that you should retract that. I mean, the Wimpy family are a fine organisation that have been going in the UK for many years.
Can I just say a bin is a trash can for our American listeners? Rob, what did you have from the Wimpy?
Doesn't sound like a retraction. Well, I didn't have the Bender burgers. I'm sure you're going to ask me. Do you know about the Bender burger?
No, I don't want to know. Look, all I want to know is actually, is the food decent?
It was fine.
Right, Rob, let's get on with this. You've got a story about Wetherspoons.
Okay, so this is from the Manchester Evening News from the 4th of November by Paige Oldfield, who we've featured many times on this podcast. And the headline, she's I mean,
she's daughter of Mike Oldfield, of course, Rob.
That's right. Yeah. Did I ever tell you about that? This might be a really weird. You know how the other day you said I've always shocked you with new anecdotes you've never heard before.
Yeah.
Did I ever tell you that I once recorded an album with Mike Oldfield's brother?
Okay, Rob, I'm going to say it now. You are going to tell me that story on this week's Patreon episode, right? So anybody who wants to hear that, join us over there. I need to hear this, but we don't have time on this show, but I need to hear this. That's one of the most extraordinary things you've ever told me. Okay, remind me on the Patreon episode.
Okay.
Right, okay.
I would just say, I mean, record with. I was featured on the album. I wasn't.
Even more extraordinary to hear that. Even more extraordinary. Okay. Right.
Okay, right.
Let's hear about Wetherspoons.
Back to the story. So, headline. The man challenging himself to collect a single chip from every Wetherspoons pub in the UK.
A single chip?
Yes.
Why? Has this man lost his mind?
Quite possibly, Alex, yes.
Right.
So, a man has challenged himself to collect a single chip from every Wetherspoons pub in the country. Boris Bennett, which is a great name. Boris Bennett has already visited a number of branches. Yeah.
Sounds like, when we were growing up, when we had those very wholesome sort of children's programs when we were growing up, Boris Bennett could have been the main character in one of those.
Yeah, I imagine him to be a very boring man. He goes off to work in a brown suit and does a very boring, like accountancy job. Not saying accountancy is boring, I know that's a stereotype, but that's the kind of man I imagine Boris Bennett is.
I like that role.
Yeah. So Boris Bennett has already visited a number of branches across Greater Manchester and is so far collecting the 9 chips for his trading cards collection book.
Sorry, are we talking potato chips?
Yes.
What have they got to do with trading cards? What?
Well, so basically he's got like this folder where he likes to put the chips into like little sealed wallets, and then writes about which Wetherspoons he's collected it from.
Sorry, Rob, I'm missing something here. You're going to have to explain to me. Sorry, so what's the trading card book? Trading cards
well,
are
where you where you put trading, obviously you get the
I see that.
pouches.
Yes, and they've got the little pouches for each card.
Yeah, so
and
you slot them in.
Chip in it. How's he going to close it? He's not going to close it.
With great care, Alex. so the customer shared...
Rob, this is a desperate cry for help.
Alex, he seems happy with it.
But why only Wetherspoons? Why can't he collect a chip from everywhere, like McDonald's, Wimpy, Burger King? Wouldn't that be more interesting? Wetherspoons.
Alex, as you well know, as an avid collector yourself, you have to stick to a specific brand first and then move on.
Thanks, Rob.
So the customer shared an image of his plastic folder to the popular Wetherspoons poultry chip count Facebook group.
But aren't they going to go... Sorry, well, that's the whole other thing. Aren't they going to go mouldy, the chips?
I would imagine so, yeah. Because I don't think there's a vacuum sealed, as far as I know.
Right.
Alex, are you a member of the popular Wetherspoons poultry chip count Facebook group?
No.
Which, by the way, sounds like a half man, half biscuit album. I mean, that's exactly up their street. So the group sees dedicated Wetherspoons fans rate the amount of chips they receive with their order.
This surely is what Facebook was designed for, and why I'm even more excited to move into the metaverse, Rob.
Absolutely. The image, which has so far racked up 2,500 comments and 6,900 likes, shows 9 single chips organised in labelled pouches. The labels include venues the chip came from, including the Bull's Head Hotel in Walkden, the Spinning Mule in Bolton, the Mardi Gras in the Trafford Centre, the Robert Shaw in Bolton, the Seven Stars in Manchester, and the Thomas Burke in Lee. In the social media post, he writes, "Evening all, I bring you this, a healthy 38 chips in the Spinning Mule in Bolton this afternoon. I'm currently on a mission to collect and record 1 chip from every Wetherspoons in Britain, and here is what I've got so far." If you're wondering what this bloke, if you're wondering, does this bloke really walk with a trading card collection book full of chips? The answer is yes, I do.
Rob, are we coming to the end of this story?
I mean, this is pretty much it, Alex. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Rob, where did you say this was happened? Where is this located?
This is in the Manchester News. I imagine this man is from the Manchester area.
Right. If I was the chief superintendent of Manchester Police, I would authorise, Rob, a nighttime raid, Rob, where this man was taken into custody indefinitely because he presents, Rob, a clear and present danger to the community. No.
Well, at least a clear and present danger to the chips or Wetherspoons. But so my second story is from NBC News. It's only journalist. By Patrick Smith from the 21st of September. So it goes back a month or so. Headline: Bees kill 60 rare South African penguins in a freak accident.
I read a horrible story, Rob, which I couldn't feature on the podcast formally, but I will just mention it in passing now, about a man, Rob, who died trying to escape a swarm of bees, and he jumped into a lake to escape them and was eaten by piranhas.
Sorry, that shouldn't be funny. That's horrific, Alex.
Yeah, it is. What was your headline?
This is... bees kill 60 rare South African penguins in freak accident.
What? God,
this is dark. I'm not going to, and obviously it's a freak accident, but just prepare yourself. So, dozens of rare penguins have been killed by a swarm of bees in South Africa in what conservation experts have described as a freak accident.
What more than accident? How do you kill a penguin by accident? I mean, obviously, there's that time, Rob, with you in that sexual encounter, and it wasn't deliberate. You didn't mean for them to die, but
Alex, that penguin had fully consented to those activities. I even got him to sign some waiver, so legally they can't prosecute me.
Right.
So more than 60.
Pick up a penguin.
I mean, that was part of it, but sure. More than 60 African penguins were found dead on Boulders Beach near Cape Town, many with bee stings around their eyes. An occurrence researchers said were unprecedented.
Right. Okay.
Any the wiser?
No, I didn't know that there was a sort of rival, like that bees had any kind of animosity towards penguins, but now I know.
I also didn't know there's a breed called African penguins. I didn't realise they lived in Cape Town either.
nor did I, no.
So the South African Federation for the Conservation of Coastal Birds said in a statement that it suspected a bee's nest was disturbed in the area. While the penguins had been stung by bees before, the foundation said it had not seen an incident on this scale.
No. Rob, can I just say that, just based on what we were talking about earlier, there are a lot of penguins in Scotland as well that a lot of people don't know, and because they were brought over by the Italians.
Which is strange because obviously, as everyone knows, obviously penguins aren't native to Italy, but that relates back to the Italian invasion of South Africa, which again, doesn't appear in like many history books.
No, Italy invaded South Africa and took home with them a bounty of penguins.
For me, I feel that the history
books but Rob, that was back when penguins were currency, of course.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, Alex, it really is a national disgrace that the Linguini Wars with South Africa aren't featured exclusively in Italian textbooks. But what can you say?
British ones, yeah.
For me, it wouldn't mean a lot. The Italy obviously invaded South Africa in order to get their penguins. I mean,
yeah, it doesn't have any bearing on your life.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, saying it out loud almost sounds like gibberish, but it never happened. So Lucini, something like that. A research manager at the foundation said her team initially thought a predator was behind the deaths, but post-mortem revealed that neither a predator nor disease were to blame, but instead found bee stings in the bird's eyes.
Did they need to do this big? Couldn't they just I don't know. It doesn't sound like they were very diligent before they had to do this post-mortem. Didn't they wasn't it quite obvious that these penguins are being stung to death by the presence of bee stings on their eyes? I mean, wouldn't that be a giveaway?
And Alex, if I saw a dead penguin, I wouldn't immediately think that, to look in their eyes for bee stings.
Always, Rob. Always look in their eyes because, Rob, you've not really, Rob, experienced a true spiritual awakening, Robert, until you've looked a dead penguin in the eyes. When you've done that...
I've done that, Alex. You mentioned this.
Yeah. When you... Oh, God.
I realised it was the death... it was at my own hand, but,
Rob, when you look a dead penguin in the eyes, you see a dead penguin staring back at you.
You are, Alex. Yeah. And I will never forget Trevor to this day. R.I.P.
Shouldn't that be Luigi the penguin? Now, listeners, I know anybody out there who is making a collection of all my recordings on my recorder, my musical bits on recorder will, because for the collectors out there is an ultra rare recording now floating around because I sent one privately to Rob this week to help Lyra sleep. And it was appreciated. But to be fair, Rob, she was captivated when you played. Rob sent me a video of him playing it to her, or Sarah playing it to her, and she looked absolutely enraptured, Rob, by the sweet dulcet sounds of my recorder.
It really pains me to say this, but yes, she actually was.
Because she's got taste, Rob. That's why.
Well,
here's another
Alex, one. She's 6 months old.
Here's another one for Lyra. It is time for our listener story of the week. Who's it by, Rob? Who's it from? Sorry.
So it's from Steve this week.
Thank you, Steve.
And it comes from the Leeds Live, which, again, I don't think we've ever featured.
Right. No.
No. By Joe Bagnall, and it's from the 14th of October.
No, we have. I'm almost certain we've featured Leeds Live.
Maybe we have. Yeah, I imagine we would do. Or at least would have done. So, headline. Get bait in Leeds in illegal sprinkles row as furious owner's rant goes viral after customer reports shop to trading standards.
Okay, look, first of all, whoever wrote that headline needs to go back to journalism school because it's the longest sentence I've ever heard.
It's too wordy.
If you asked me what that was about, I can't remember anything. And I mean that genuinely. So just tell me the story. I've got no idea what this story is about. Did you mention a
Leeds
shop?
bakery? Yeah, a bakery, basically. So a Leeds bakery has been embroiled in a bitter controversy after they were forced to temporarily close because they topped their cakes with illegal sprinkles.
Oh, yeah, I heard this. Yes, I heard this. Illegal sprinkles, yeah.
So Get Baked cake shop in Headingley received a surprise visit.
Is it called Get Baked?
It's called Get Baked, yeah.
What's that?
Which obviously has connotations to the practice of smoking the Benson and the Hendrix. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Does it? So if you're baked, does it mean you're high?
Yeah, it means you're stoned, as the kids say.
Coming from a person who spent a lot of time doing that in my youth, I never came across that term.
Alex, but you were far too high to say it, that's why.
Maybe, yeah.
So the Get Baked cake shop in Headingley received a surprise visit from Trading Standards on October the 1st.
Were they really heavy-handed, Rob? Did they sort of turn up with sort of battering rams and just barge their way in, hurl people to the ground, throw the cakes on the floor, that kind of thing?
I mean, it doesn't go into detail. I just imagine the officers going in, or inspectors even, picking up cakes, throwing on the floor, smashing muffins into the wall, that kind of thing. Can I just say that that's pure speculation? But I from what I've heard about Trading Standards, this are the kind of things they do. So from a surprise visit on October 1st, who told them they must cease to use the sprinkles with immediate effect.
Why? I can't even remember why. There's some sort of, they've got colourings in them, aren't they? Or that aren't allowed over here or something.
It goes into more detail. So the popular bakery on North Lane said it was very fucking annoying in a viral Facebook rant, as their best-selling cookies are covered in the tasty topping.
Now, do you know what's fucking annoying? That you didn't do due diligence and check what ingredients were you allowed to use in this country and what weren't. It's nobody's fault but your own. I hope you go out of business.
Wow, Alex, are you trying to apply for a job with Trading Standards?
No, I'm sick of it. I'm sick, Rob, of these bakeries taking liberties. It's been going on for way too long. You know it, and I know it's not just this one, Rob. The amount of times I've gone in there and they're clearly using ingredients that they shouldn't be. You're
right, Alex. I mean, the amount of bakeries I've seen taking shortcuts, using subpar icing, it really is disgusting.
Yeah, exactly. Shortcuts to make shortbread. It's awful. Absolutely awful. There's a better joke in there somewhere as well, but I don't know what it is.
I quite enjoyed that, actually.
Okay,
so they were told that their sprinkles were imported from the US and contained colouring which didn't meet UK standards, something they branded as insane. That was the bakery, not Trading Standards.
You can buy fucking sprinkles anywhere. What are you importing them from the US for? Were they really that much cheaper,
Alex?
Yeah, get them from China.
Look, after Brexit, we all know that the VAT on sprinkles has gone through the roof. So if you can get them from the US...
Did you know hundreds and thousands of the sprinkles? Did you know, Rob, that each one of those sprinkles is made by hand? Did you know that? And they're made by hand. They are, Rob, in Italy.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. By penguins.
I think that makes sense. Which is a very cruel thing of the Italians to do, because obviously the penguins don't have opposable thumbs. So they literally have to sellotape knives to their flippers.
And train them.
They can chop them up. Yeah. And, there's rumours of knife fights, underground knife fights, but we don't know whether that's true.
And the reason they're called hundreds and thousands, is because that was what they used to say about when they used to boast about how many penguins they took from South Africa. They would say, we took hundreds and thousands of penguins from you, and you're never getting them back.
It's appalling, Alex. I really think the nation of Italy should apologise, because it's a national disgrace.
There is a campaign in South Africa to have the penguins rehomed, but on the opposing side of the argument is they say, but these penguins are now, all they know how to do is basically cut and chop things with knives strapped to their wings, and would they fit into society? They could be a menace.
Well, arguably, I would say that by rehoming them, by sending them back to South Africa, they would stand a better chance against the bees because they've got knives now.
You're right. Against those fucking bees. Yeah, take that, you fucking bee.
I mean, it's very difficult to try and to cut a bee. I mean, I've never tried myself, but
Rob, if you can cut into something so small as make hundreds and thousands little sprinkle, they can cut a bee.
It's almost like they've been training for it, Alex.
In fact, maybe we should train up the penguins to work for trading standards, to go into these places and intimidate people who are using illegal sprinkles. Imagine that. Imagine a dawn raid of, the door opens and 100 penguins walk through with knives strapped to their fucking wings, Rob. Imagine that. Because that's what I imagine.
I mean, Alex,
Rob, have you ever imagined that and woken up screaming?
No, but I will now. Alex, obviously, it's a terrifying image. I'm not sure it would, their attempts to enforce the trading standards would be quite as effective. I think if it was me, I was thinking, am I having some sort of weird hallucination? There's a load of penguins in my shop with what appears to be knives sellotape to their wings.
You are having a weird hallucination. Do you know why? Because you ate fucking illegal sprinkles with illegal colourings in them, Rob, that have made.
But that was my choice, Alex. And now my shop's full of fucking penguins.
Did you know, Rob, that penguins are the third most intelligent animal on Earth? It's human, dog, penguin. It is. And people who think that dolphins are intelligent, that's a myth. Dolphins actually come way down. Dolphins are apparently less intelligent than slugs.
I've heard this, but I think the difference with dolphins is they just hide it well.
Yeah, exactly.
They can engage you about articles they've read in the New Yorker, but after that they've got nothing.
Right, yeah.
Alex, when did this become an episode of Daft Talk?
Oh yeah, Daft Talk. That's a blast from the past. Are we at the end of this story now? I think I get the gist.
No, I've read like a third of it.
Do we need any more?
Hang on.
Bakery closed down. Bakery closed down. They've gone to jail. Right.
So they basically the bakery refused to shut down. But they had to reduce their range because apparently they put hundreds of thousands on fucking everything. Sprinkles,
just bread. Bread. It comes on bread. Comes on pasties. Everything.
Yeah. Who doesn't enjoy a pasty covered in sprinkles? Unfortunately, it seems like trading standards then paid them another visit and told them to stop trading. That's basically the story.
Right. I have to say, I find that remarkable considering when you walk down the cereal aisle in Sainsbury's or any other supermarket, some of the fucking cereals that are on sale where you look at those and think, how is any of this legal for a child to eat?
That's what one thing. So going back to this, you're absolutely right. One thing I haven't read about the story is the fact that a customer reported them to trading standards. I mean,
how did they know?
Petty, right?
Did they go back and look at the sprinkle under a microscope and see that it was you? How did they know these ones were illegal? Like, why would they have thought they were?
So there's a fantastic quote. So for the bakery said, to whoever reported us to trading standards, all I have to say is, dear Lord, what a sad little Jane. My daughter, who's now 7 months old, has to live with the fact that Daddy can't take her to Disneyland because man can't sell any fucking cookies.
Sorry, that's ridiculous. Sorry, that's ridiculous what he said there. All he has to do is buy sprinkles that have the colourings in them that are legal, no? Have they made up so much of this stuff and frozen it out? Is that what the problem is here? It's not freshly baked, it's all frozen, and they just bring it out. What's he lost here? I don't understand. He's lost what? A day's worth of stock? Rob, he needs to be put into a cell similar to that of Ghislaine Maxwell, and then he'll know, Rob, what hardship is like.
That's true, Alex. Yes. I mean, the two crimes aren't really comparable, but sure.
On that note, Rob, we bring this episode of Local Anesthetic, episode 348, to a close. Rob, we look forward with a mixture of eager anticipation, yet trepidation, to our next episode, 348, Rob, as we move ever more forward like a man. I'm trying to remember what he did now off the top of my head. A man who fired shots at a passing motorist, avoided rifle shots back, was chased by police, crashed into a garage, ran into the woods, found a house in the woods, broke into the house, and emerged wearing a racing driver costume, only to then decide none of this was worth it, lie down on the ground and allow himself to be arrested, and presumably put in that cell with Ghislaine Maxwell, the owner of this bakery, and a penguin. Just like that, we move ever more forward to our next episode, which will be episode 300. You've got to have the penguin to keep you company, Rob. That's what they could do with the penguins in South. They could be sort of concubines in prison for the inmates.
Right. I feel that's worse than what we're doing at the moment.
Remove the knives, obviously. Just like that, we move on. God knows what's happened to this episode, Rob. Listen. We can be found on our website, LAPodcast.net. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/LAPodcast. We're on Twitter at LAPodcast. We're on Spotify. You want to submit us a story, you want to feature, just email it to us, LAPodcast.net@gmail.com. That's LAPodcast.net@gmail.com. And please, for the love of God, surely I want to hear it. You must want to hear it. Come and join us over on Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/LAPodcast extra. And from there you can sign up to all the bonus episodes. It's £2 a month. They're already now, Rob, 8 episodes there. So if you sign up today, you've already got a backlog of 8 episodes, and all the future ones will release. And on the next Patreon episode, we will be hearing about, I cannot believe I'm saying this, Rob, and I now do think I'm dreaming, that Rob apparently helped to record an album with Mike Oldfield's brother. We're going to hear all about that on the Patreon episode. Come join us there. We'd love to have you. Thank you for listening, everybody. God bless.
And keep it local.